Neil from Essex here, out to answer a viewer question. If you'd like to ask me a question about tractors, equipment, anything to do with the industries that we serve, shoot a short video of yourself and email it to youtube@messiks.com.
Essex, a helping hand with your land.
Hey there, Neil. My name is Kyle. I live up here in Northeast Washington, just outside of a little town called Colville. Purchased my first Kubota tractor back in March of 2020 here. It's the Kubota B2301. Currently have about 106 hours on it already, and just love everything about this little tractor and what it can do. Question for you, and I was kind of looking through the pamphlets and noticed that the BX2680 appears to have the same motor as the 2301 does. My question is that I noticed the BX2680 has 24.8 horsepower with 19.5 at the PTO at 3,200 RPMs. The 2301 has 20.9 horsepower with 17.5 at the PTO, and they're rated at 2,800 RPMs. Just kind of curious how Kubota rates these two different tractors with these same motors in them, and how come they have different horsepower ratings on each of these tractors here. If you could answer that question, I'd really appreciate it. Enjoy all your videos, Neil. Keep up the great work. Take care, and all the best.
Thank you for your question. This is actually a fairly common inquiry that we'll get from people when they're shopping for equipment. When you look at the different spec sheets for a different piece of machinery, you'll usually notice that the engine make and model is going to be listed on that spec sheet. Oftentimes, though, that engine make and model doesn't tell you everything about how that engine is going to be used in that piece of equipment, and that's where you'll start to see these surprising differences in horsepower that they create or RPMs that they might spin at. Usually the make and model really is only a reference to the physical block itself, and in this case a number like D1005 tells us that it's a 3-cylinder engine of right about 1 liter and the 5th series, kind of the 5th generation of that engine block. However, it doesn't address things like the emission system, and is it turbocharged, and what kind of cooling system on it, and what charging systems are attached to it. All of those things are going to define a whole lot of that engine's operational characteristic and isn't reflected in that simple model number that you're going to find on the spec sheet. Now, with the limited inventory that we have out here on the lot, I didn't have the specific models that you're asking about, but I did have these. They're going to share the D1105 engine. In the case of this B2401, it's going to come out here and generate 21.9 horsepower. In the ZD1211, though, that same engine comes in at 24.8 horsepower. Now, when you look underneath the hoods of these engines, you can see why. There's a lot of differences in the construction. In the B2401, this engine's gonna run at different RPMs than what it does in the ZD, spinning a little slower. That's probably because of the hydraulic pumps and the gearing and the transmission and everything that's attached to it may not be appropriate for those higher RPMs. You might also find, too, that there's some torque matching happening there, where the construction of the rest of the machine really operates the best at a particular point in the torque curve that might vary from what's needed for a machine like a zero-turn mower, where generally you need a lot more RPMs for the machine to work efficiently. So when you dive into how these machines are used, right, to the kind of application that the equipment goes into, the engine really performs very differently depending on which machine it's in, and all of these other factors that go way beyond that simple block on the spec sheet. So I appreciate your question, and hopefully that helps explain a little bit why you see this commonality of engine blocks with wildly different numbers from one application or one machine to the next. There's really a lot going on, and it gives you a real appreciation for the complexity of a lot of this equipment and the different ways that they're able to go through and say take an engine and put it to use in so many different ways. The engineers and the folks behind this machinery are truly remarkable people in what they're able to put together. So if you're shopping for a piece of equipment and we can help, or if you have parts or service needs for a machine we've already got, give us a call at Messiks. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messiks.com.